run these workshops every Wednesday evening and Saturday mornings.
Oh, great.
So you're welcome anytime
Thank
in
you.
those hours. Oh, during the clinic hours too.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And your name is?
I'm Eva.
Eva, welcome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Are you friends with
Carol.
Carol? Have I seen you before?
Probably.
Yeah, I think
in
so.
that previous life, we were friends.
Probably.
Yes. Welcome, Carol. And then we have Enda, we have Jad, we have Sol, we have Victor, we have Grace, we have Elizabeth, we have Kim, Dinah, Prasant, Louise, and Dr. Yi. Okay? So today we're going to talk about immunity. So what is immunity?
Defense mechanism.
Defense. Oh, I like that word. Why do we need defense? No, hold on. What's the other side of defense?
Offense.
Offense. So why didn't you tell me it was offense? You said it was defense. Why do we need defense and not offense?
Yes, when we have a defense, foreign,
Yeah.
cannot get into our body. We have defense.
No, I'm saying
Protection.
if you're watching soccer or tennis or anything, there's offense and there's defense. Why is our immune system only defensive?
It's on automatic. It's already processing, working, going forward.
Think about it.
Reaction for what is abnormal to your body.
How no, so it's defensive. Let's go to issue. Because you made a wrong judgment. That's why it's defensive. For example, if I put food that's poison in my stomach, the immune system is defensive because I put it in my stomach without knowing whether it was good or bad. If I walk into a room that has mosquitoes and other things, it's defensive because I took my body into that room.
Yeah.
Do you understand why it's not offensive?
Yes.
What is the offensive part of our architecture?
Our decision.
Oh,
Precaution.
very good.
Yeah.
It is our decision. And what are those two decisions we make in the offensive environment?
Like
No. We fight.
or we
Oh,
fly.
Flight.
That's the offensive. And the defensive is our immune system. Are we getting this clear? The offensive is we fight or we run, and our defense is when we have submitted and we made a mistake. Now the body has to deal with it. Okay?
I don't understand the offensive being flight or fight.
Because we are trying not to get to a place where the immune system will have to work. Because if I get beat by a bear, my immune system now has a problem.
So you,
So it should be precaution?
Yes.
okay,
Because offense is really to destroy the enemy, right?
yes.
That's the point of offense. You
And-
want to destroy them before they get to you. But if they get to you, now it's defense time,
Got it.
right?
Thank you.
That's why immunity is discussed very close with inflammation. So now we have another big question. What is inflammation?
It's a symptom, isn't it?
Oh,
Infection?
Something wrong with what?
With your body.
Inflammation,
Yeah.
that particular.
Yeah, inflammation. What is it?
infection,
It is a response to something.
infection,
Yes, it's a response to attack. That's what inflammation is. And so we have acute and chronic, right? Because I'm going to really the architecture of why our immune system is needed. Our immune system in a defensive architecture is there to respond to the attack. And that attack could be injury, you cut yourself, right? Or poison, or you eat some lousy food, right? Or you get sick, or a response, yes, allergic response to something foreign, Or when it is even our own body, we can react to our own body, which leads to autoimmunity, where we are fighting our own body. That is, the body begins to fight itself in auto antigen issues, right? Are we making sense here? Why immunity is very, very important? It is, as Kim was suggesting to me, it's a very challenging topic to discuss because it's not something that people normally think about. When people have flu, they think that's normal. It's not normal to have infection. And every time you have infection, what does it do?
It's weakening your
Why
It
immunity. Weakening your
weakens
immunity.
your subsequent response. Why does it weaken your subsequent response? There are two reasons why.
You're running out of good cell to fight. Kind of.
That's good. It depletes
Your
your metabolic
it's
reserve,
depleted.
but there's
Yes.
something else that it does. It depletes your ability to fight the next fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we go to war in Iran and Iraq,
You're running
all
out
of
of
a
soldier.
sudden we don't have enough
Soldier.
soldiers to
Yeah.
fight another war. It depletes our reserve. What else does it do?
Causes other infections.
That's a very, yeah, you're going to the point, yes, because there's always a residual amount of infection inside of us. No medication cleans out all the infection. And that residual, are you a doctor, Carol?
No, I'm not.
You're a nurse?
No, I'm with the Immune Deficiency Foundation.
Oh!
Yay, we got somebody interested on something. All right.
Yes, I was like, she was going to the heart. Yes, that's what happens. It triggers other infections and you become vulnerable. So that's why exposing yourself at all is not a good thing. You don't want to get infections. So people who already have challenges with infection, there are little kinds of infections that we tend to ignore. Mouth infections. There are big indications that your immune system is not working well. If you continuously have blood when you brush your teeth, or pain, or
cold sores,
or cold sores, or bad breath, there are big indications that you have a weakened immune system. And as you know, the mouth is the most important architecture for infection because you swallow spit about 6,000 times a day. So you're swallowing. So yes. That makes your speed, it's not mine. So and you kiss about 20 times a day. And some people kiss their dog 40 times a day.
Yes.
My neighbor was doing that yesterday. I was in the kitchen. I was like, oh, she's going to kiss the dog again, you know. Right? Yeah, but it's her dog, not me. Right. So that's number one. What's number two? Infection that people tend to ignore.
Skin.
Yes. Oh yeah, I know you're from the right place. Skin infections. People don't pay attention to a lot of infections on the skin. And that is really a way of your immune system saying, I'm being overwhelmed by some nonsense going on. What's the third one? Common, especially for women. UTI. That is, if you continuously have UTI, it's a big indication. It's uterine something infections. UTI. And how do Western medicine treat it?
Antibiotics.
Antibiotics.
And what is my problem with antibiotics? They kill what?
They kill this bacteria.
Where?
In that.
Why is that a bad thing? To balance what? Guys, I need this class to know. Why is that a bad thing?
Antibiotics.
No. Why is the killing of the bacteria in your stomach a bad thing?
Because you need the bacteria in your stomach in order to
digest and absorb
Digest what?
nutrients.
Or to support in the digestion of fibers and nutrients and the absorption, right? But that doesn't mean you should not take antibiotics.
Yeah, you have to.
So if you take antibiotics, what should you do?
Take a probiotic?
They no.
Yes, you do. You have to
It
take
doesn't they
probiotic.
counteract each other?
Okay, are we gonna fight or are we gonna explore what the solution is? We could have a tariff war here.
We are not fighting.
No,
I thought
that
we
was
just-
a joke. That was a joke.
I thought you had to do, you still have to take
One thing,
probiotic.
one
right?
thing, one thing.
I understood that if you're on antibiotics, that probiotics was against the antibiotic.
No. Yeah,
Last,
that's
he talked about that the last
conceptually
class.
true.
Okay.
That's conceptually true, but that's not correct.
That's not correct, yeah.
Because, except you stop eating. So if you take your antibiotics, which is typically that you take on an empty stomach, right?
No, I thought with food.
No, not antibiotics. It's better with an empty stomach so they can actually not be diluted by your food.
Oh.
And then after you eat or before you eat, you take your probiotics. There are two different things they're doing. One is going, absorbed in your bloodstream to go attack the infection. Unfortunately, in the process, it will kill bacteria in your gut. But the other one is coming to repopulate your gut. They're
So you
two
still have to-
different things, so you need to understand them so you don't listen to fake news.
So you do it simultaneously, the antibiotic and the probiotic.
Yeah, but the timing.
Timing.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
So, you just mentioned probiotics. I was wondering about probiotics. Are they good to take?
Uh-huh.
I
Well,
don't know very much about them.
I know that's why you came to the right place.
Right.
Yeah, so it depends where you're buying from. If you buy them from Costco, I wouldn't be able to confirm. But if
Okay.
you were buying them from us,
They are good for the stomach, though?
actually at your age, yes, it's mandatory
Okay.
that you take every day. Mandatory.
Morning and evening.
So that helps your stomach.
No, it's not just helping your stomach, it's helping the basic
Yes.
metabolic architecture in your body.
The whole body.
Yeah, that's the reason why we are at this topic, because we're going towards inflammation,
Okay.
which is really at the core of what drives immunity. Remember? That's why I'm taking you slowly through this story, because I want you to understand that by the time we get to immunity, you've understood our body's response and fight architecture. Are you good? You need some help with that?
No.
Okay. All right. So probiotics and prebiotics and digestive enzymes, they're the three things you need to take every day. Digestive enzymes, because by the time we're this age, our digestive enzymes are not good enough. Probiotics is helping repopulate the good bacteria. If not, the bad bacteria kill off the good ones, right? And that balance needs to be around 60-40. And then prebiotics is the fiber that is necessary that creates that environment for better digestion and absorption. And by the time you get 40-50, that's already sub-optimized. Is that making sense now? And if you are doing that regimen every day, it then reduces the amount of inflammation that is caused by the fight that goes from here to there, which is the key attack point in the body. It's our most vulnerable. How do you kill a crocodile? I know none of you grew up in a village. How do you kill a crocodile? You dive under the crocodile,
Oh,
where
Stomach,
it's weak,
stomach,
and
stomach.
you stab its heart.
Close his mouth only.
No,
No.
you can't. No.
Yes, you
When
take
it goes off, you go under and
That's where
stab
the
the
soft
heart.
part,
Damn.
that's the soft part, yeah. Where's the softer skin?
You can't hold a crocodile's mouth.
No, you tape it. I said,
I
Where's
want
the
to watch you
strongest jaw?
tape
You ever
it.
seen that? Where's the strongest mouth?
You tape it with what?
tape.
You see the crocodile. Where is the
You
tape?
jump over him, and you right away. I've seen so many on
I know, that's
Discovery Channel.
movie, yeah. Discovery Channel. I'm talking in the forest. Yeah. You know, that's why in the village, men, women don't carry knife. That's the reason. Because that is the thing you used to survive. Right? Everybody has a pocket knife.
In the city
Standard.
too.
In the city now, they all have pocket knives, yeah. But that's one of the ways. But anyway, I was talking about our point of vulnerability. Our weakest point of attack is our gut. And that's where all the attack happens. And that's where 80% of our immune system is functioning. It's protecting all the air we breathe, all the bacteria coming from the air we breathe. Like the minute we came into this room, our collective microbiome, because everybody walks around with their microbiome, all the bacteria of all the places you've been to followed you. When we come into this room, that collective microbiome, we're all now breathing it in.
No, you have the filter.
Good
It
job.
helps. It helps. Yes, we
How
have
many-
that very important
Feet
filter.
does microbiome, I mean,
That, they say about 3 feet.
okay.
I'm that's 4 feet. This is 5 feet right here. That's a 5 feet right there.
Yeah, but King said we have the filter. And that's why you need to have filters in your bedrooms, right? For the 8 hours that you sleep, you need to be breathing really good air. So that's air. Now let's talk about water. Most of us drink crap water.
Yes.
And you're worrying about stem cells. Most of the water you drink is crap. You know, the bottled water that you buy in the store, you should watch the journey of that water to the store, right?
Yes.
And so then let's now talk about the food. You know, there was a time when in the village, in my village in Bamising, in Bamenda, my grandmother ran a restaurant every Friday at the market. That's the only restaurant food I eat until I was what? I went to high school. But here, how many times a day do people eat in restaurants?
3.
Me too. Yeah, 2, 3 times.
And typically it's different restaurants. So we are collecting different bacteria every day. So why do you think autoimmune illness is such a big, that's why they created a whole society. We don't have a society of immunity in my village.
No.
But you had to create it here because of the sickness. It's a big, big problem. And the challenge with immunity, it's a very difficult thing to fix. Very challenging once you have your immune system is compromised. So we're going to stop there and go to what we have on the whiteboard. Then we're going to come onto how we fix your immunity. Are you enjoying this journey to immunity? So I'm going to ask questions, Jad. What is the purpose of our immune system?
Defense.
No, it's
Defense.
Defense.
Very important, guys. It's defense. Because God knew that we were going to make stupid choices. Right? Even though the fish is rotten, we still say, I like it. I brought it from the restaurant last night. Let me just take a bite. Right? Because he knew it was stupid. He had to build something else to protect us from ourselves, from our bad judgment, right? Right? Oh, we know that, especially going to the bathroom, our mother said, wash your hands. But we still go to the bathroom and walk out without washing our hands because we're like, why should I wet my hands? My hands are so precious. Why should I wash it? After I don't see any bacteria on it, it must be clean. And then the instruction is that you need to wash it for about 3 or 5 seconds. Why? Wetting it is enough. You know how we revolt against everything, and then we go out there and spread bacteria to everybody.
Right.
But because we can't see it, we don't worry, right? See that? Now I have to live in the world with all of you and your fascinating microbiome.
So we should stay at least 3 feet away from everybody we come in.
Starting this whole thing now.
That's why in the olden days, those women had that big skirt.
Yeah,
It kept people.
that's what I got from what you said.
they had those big skirts, so you couldn't invade their space.
Yeah.
Or Michael Jackson used to always wear his
Mask.
the mask, so that you go to Asia, most people are wearing the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially in
because
China.
especially in China, right? Because the air outside, the air quality and all of that.
Their pollution is so bad.
For example, I'm driving to work sometimes, and I see people on motorbike on the freeway and no mask. They're breathing all that air. The toxicity. If I run their urine here, Dr. Prasad will have to take them into emergency immediately. The level of mercury. Okay. So what do we do at this clinic? So there are two fundamental questions that we want to ask. And these are the questions that you need to always think about when you ever go to see a doctor. The first question is this something that you need to be rid of? Right? Something that came into your body that's not supposed to be there, like toxins, infections, allergy, poor diet, stress, lots of things that come to us, right? How do we deal with stress? You know why today we are more stressed than we've ever been in the past?
Social media.
Okay, yeah, fake news. But the second big reason is because we actually think we're in control. We really think that we can control everything. Oh, no, sorry. We want to control everything. And that's not really possible because very few things are within our control, right? And then the second question is there an unmet individual need that must be filled for optimal function, right? So over time, generations of human beings have determined what was good for us based on where our genes were born and located, right? So the foods and the seasons were all aligned. When it's cold and you have a flu, for some reason, you have a desire for hot soup. Right? It's almost genetic. When we go to the foreplace in winter, it's packed. Everybody wants hot soup in the morning. It's genetic. And actually, the hot soup is very good for your immune system. Do you see how it's interesting that it works that way, that God made it that way? That some of the things we crave are things that really are good, that our body needs to work on. We still crave carbohydrates because we used to be, thanks. We used to be people who worked all day in the farm. My grandfather used to go on the farm at 5 in the morning. We'll come home for lunch around 11, rest and go back around 2 and come back around 5 every day, except Sunday. You know, if you're a farmer, there's no vacation. Even the chicken has to be fed on Sunday.
From the start of work to lunchtime is almost a full day.
Exactly, yes. And would have fed all the animals, cleaned everything, collected the eggs, then we harvest, then my grandmother would go. So today, we don't even know what proteins are, or what fats are, or what carbohydrates we should be eating, or fiber, right? Somebody was telling me, oh, if I get all my fruit, I make a smoothie. Then there is no fiber, because you've just ground it into nonsense.
I do that every morning.
That's why you don't have any fiber.
That's right.
There was a reason God didn't prepare the fruit as a smoothie. You think he was stupid, right? He should have made the apple as an apple smoothie. But he made it as a fruit, right? The things that he wanted us to drink, he made them as a drink.
Wow.
You know how we use our stupid knowledge to think we're smarter? Yeah. The things that he wanted us to drink, he made as a drink. You know, like palm wine, you cut the tree, the wine comes out, and you drink it, and in the morning when you harvest, it's very sweet. By afternoon, it's alcohol. That's how they make alcohol in the village, right? But God made that for you to drink. The fruit he made you to eat, because that's where you get your fiber. And every fruit had its own season, because a lot of fruits are really the way in which we get a lot of minerals and vitamins for our immune system. Including, I used to think, because I was born in the city and then went to the farm. In the city, we all ate meat, right? In the village, they ate the tongue, the kidney, the liver, the intestines, and I thought, this is not nice. I thought because we were poor. What am I reading now in the research? Organ meats are the best meats for you to eat.
For nutrients.
Yes, for nutrients. I thought my grandfather was stupid.
Would you consider that true today when all of the animals
Well,
are...
it should be true. Not all the animals are. There are people who still do grass-fed. There are animals who are still free-range. We still have that in our environment. And so even on the farmer's market, the guy is like, Charles, you're one of the few people who buys the tongue and the liver and the kidney. Because I really think that that is the natural way. Because when people ask me, should I take supplements? I said, except you're eating organ meat, you should take supplements. How else are you going to get critical things like phosphorus? Manganese. I know you don't know that. That's not a country in Africa. It's actually a rare metal, a heavy metal. How are you going to get that? It's in the organ meat. And if you're vegetarian, you're not going to get that except you take supplements. You see that? Is that making sense? So we're always lacking of something. So there are 6 things that cause disease. Number 1 are toxins. Big one, right? Like the glyphosate. How many people here know what glyphosates are? Not the immune people. How many people here know what glyphosates are? Not Elizabeth and the immune lady. Who else knows? Not my staff also. Do you know what glyphosates are?
No.
Really?
No.
Are you an American?
Yes.
Glyphosates are very American. They're actually a citizen now. Right, Elizabeth?
Oh,
You
that's
say
good.
so.
That's
Because
good.
that's what Monsanto sells to all the farmers.
Oh, like,
Glyphosate. It is what they call it,
The weed killer.
the weed killers.
Roundup.
Roundup. Do you know the percentage of that in most Americans? It's really high.
Like 100%. Everyone has it in them.
Everyone has it. If you eat food in America or eat chicken or beef in America, you have glyphosate in you.
Yep. Can
That's
you
a
get rid of
toxin.
it?
You can.
Yeah.
That's why we detoxify.
Good.
You detox. But you have to check where those levels are. And there are biological elements. There are also synthetic toxins like plastic.
Benzene.
Not like the little plastic balls in your toothpaste. If you use one of the bullshit toothpaste, you know that thing that causes traction in the toothpaste? That rough thing? They're all plastic balls. And we swallow them, millions of them every day when you use that kind of toothpaste. And so, because they are so small, they get absorbed into the bloodstream. Yeah, I know, right? So stop worrying about the purity of stem cells when the toothpaste you're using is giving you a lot of plastic, right? Then let's talk about allergens, right? Lots of things. And let me pick a couple there, like mold. You know, the one that I really hate because I love avocado, it's the mold in avocado. Very, very dangerous. And then onion, and I stopped eating a lot of dried fruit, seeds, because we don't know how the seeds will move from fresh to dry. Because during that process, mold gets into the fruits. So you have to be very careful with dried fruits. It gives a lot of mold. So you really need to. You see, in the old days, we didn't care because all of this was at the farm. When we harvested peanuts, we washed it and it went straight for drying immediately. Here, we don't know what they do with it. It might be on that truck for weeks before it gets to dry. It's the same thing with fish oil at Costco. You can smell it. If you can smell it, it's rancid. Fish oil has no smell.
wow.
It doesn't smell of fish. If it smells of fish, it's rancid. I know Americans think, oh, it smells so fishy. Must be good. That's fish oil. You can smell it. That's what Luis tells his daughter. You know, go there, you can smell it from a mile away and you know where to find it. If it smells that, it's rancid. Because you know, I'm sorry, I didn't want to really be depressing as what they do, how they catch the fish and how they let the fish just rot and then for like months before they crush it and squeeze to extract the oil. Shoot.
I have a question. I have been told that the smaller the fish size, the healthier it is.
Correct. Because the smaller fishes, actually that's why in my culture we eat mostly small fish.
Right, that's what I was, yeah.
Yes. Big fishes have a lot of toxins from the sea.
Oh, like the mojarra,
Yeah, they
they're fried.
Oh yeah. The mohara, I could see you licking your lips. You wanted one here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the village, if you go to the village, they don't eat big fish. They eat a lot of little fish. Right? The people in the village, right? It's the same thing in the Philippines, they eat the small fish. They don't eat big fish. I didn't see big fishes until I came to Europe. Oh my God, the fish is so big. Even though we have the sea, the Atlantic Ocean, but we all eat small fish. Yeah, in the village, that's what we eat. Then microbes. Those are the dangerous ones, like the prions, you know. Those are the ones that are not even alive. Right, Prasan? What are those prions? They're very dangerous things that we don't know whether they came from Mars.
What are
Right?
they?
They're inside of us in a lot of different places.
How do you eat them? How do you take them? And how?
They come in your fruit. First of all, how many people wash their vegetables and fruit with vinegar?
No.
You must.
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 Oh, really?
Yes. Must.
Even organic?
Doesn't matter, everything.
That's
Even
worse.
organic. That's worse. Tell us. Thank you. Because that's
It's
worse.
worse, yeah.
Because of the composting.
Oh.
Yeah, there's more bacteria in organic than in non-organic.
I see.
In non-organic, they were killed with
Can
glyphosate.
you wash it off? Can you wash that off?
No, you have to use vinegar.
Vinegar.
Okay.
Vinegar is the best.
To kill the bacteria.
No, to
Okay.
cleanse it off. Yes,
Okay.
to kill.
Then can you taste the vinegar?
No, you cannot. You rinse
You
it
put
again.
water in your sink
And
and
then
put
you
a
just
couple
put
of
it-
drops.
right.
Yeah, and soak it and rinse. Yeah, my mother told me that when I was 7 years old. She was a doctor anyway, so. Yeah, and I used to think, how laborious, but you need to always have a bottle of vinegar
Yep.
in your wash sink, so that every time you're rinsing, you just put a few drops and rinse with that. It's very important, guys.
Some cultures use salt. Does that work?
Yes, but saline is not as good as vinegar. Salt is good too, but typically
Salt on meat,
typically we do salt to create a barrier when we want to dry and smoke.
Yeah.
So
Like the
that's why
fish-
they put
the fish.
create the salt barrier, so that it doesn't get infected. But also the salt soaks into the meat, so when you want to eat it later on, it's really, the quality is very good. For people who like beef, that's how they protect it with salt.
In
So
India-
they,
In India, they use rock salt, big
Yes.
salt,
Which is
not
better.
the regular salt.
yeah,
the
the sea
rock-
salt.
the sea
Yeah,
salt,
rock
yeah.
salt.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. So stress. You know, I love stress because most people say they don't have it.
We know better.
So I'm gonna test my class. What are the 4 kinds of stress? What was the fish again, mohara?
Yeah.
Yeah, the minute you spoke about that fish, you've been stressed since then. You were imagining your mother making that fish.
No, actually, my mother didn't like fish. The mojarra actually was introduced through the restaurants.
Oh, really?
You know, I mean, to me anyway.
It's not fancy.
But it's in our culture,
Oh, okay.
but I was introduced to it in the restaurant.
Interesting.
My mom was simple.
So let's talk about stress. So what are the 4 kinds of stress in that?
Precede.
Tell me one.
The precede.
Emotional.
Okay, I'm gonna stop there. Why did you start with that one?
Why did I start with emotional?
One, yes. Because it's the most challenging one.
Yeah.
Why?
It's the hardest one to get under control.
Correct.
Instant
Okay.
gratification.
So that is the really
Emotional
challenge.
stress.
Yes, that stress, the
Physical
emotional
stress.
stress, or what we call perceived
Perceive,
stress.
yeah,
Yeah.
perceive.
It's a very, very challenging because the other stresses, they come from inflammation, they come from sleep, and they come from what? Sugar. The glycemic control, sleep, inflammation cause stress. The thing with those stresses is that we don't even know they're there. But they are putting the body under a lot of pressure. But this perceived stress,
You can feel it. You can
I
feel
call it the stress of the contender. Right? Is the stress that is, I could have been better.
Yep.
The stress that comes from saying,
That's a good one.
I made mistakes. The stress that says,
I shouldn't do it.
I shouldn't have done it.
I should have done it. Yeah.
Right?
I shouldn't eat the cheesecake.
Imagine you've eaten it already and you
I know, it's like, oh,
regret it.
shit, oh, I feel
It's
so
like,
bad
why are you
now, I
stressed?
can't
You
eat
ate it
them.
already and you enjoyed it. Right.
Even though I know I shouldn't eat it.
And that's why in Buddhism, a lot of Buddhist training is centered around this issue of being present. Right? Isn't that the driver for meditation? Because as Landmark would teach us, most of us live where?
Past.
Tell us, Elizabeth. Where do we live, Elizabeth?
In
The
our
past.
thoughts, in our
No.
hearts.
Or future.
In our
Live
future.
in the future or,
In the past.
In the past.
and what happens to the present?
We forgot the moment.
No, we are not there.
We're
Yeah,
not
we're
there.
not there.
Not there.
So I should forget myself I eat the cheesecake because it's in the past.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's like a, it's like a closed drawer. Just close it.
I know, I should forget
It's
myself.
done.
Okay.
You should be present and say, how do I exercise to pay for that cheesecake?
Great.
Or fast
Yes.
3 days.
Yeah.
You
So I
see
shouldn't
that?
stress over it.
Payback time, and then do it again.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. I'll
Repeat.
forget myself. I'll go
Right.
exercise. I'll eat again. Yes.
We either repeat. So is this making sense, guys? So perceived stress is a really, really challenging issue. And that's why a lot of people take up yoga and meditation. Or you need to find something that de-stresses you. You must find that thing, that place,
Shopping.
right? If you have a lot of money.
Shopping.
If it does not stress you financially.
You know, it's amazing when I go to South Coast Plaza.
Shopping.
Because I cut my hair there and sometimes I go to pick up my
That's really
magazine.
de-stress. Shopping.
And every time I'll drive there, I'll be like, wow, look at all the cars here. Why are they here?
De-stress.
Right? And then you see they're all walking through the shop.
That's what I'm saying,
No, it's
de-stress.
not distressing because you're looking at things you cannot afford.
Right.
That's actually more stressful. You should have just stayed home in your poverty. Because then you're not reminded that you're poor.
But,
You're right.
but my
Have
friend
something else.
is an older guy. He goes to South Coast to walk because it's cold.
Yeah, but that's good. Yeah.
It's a good
I mean, if
exercise, by
that's
the
your
way. I do.
objective.
It's a good exercise.
But I see all
I
these
did
people
like up
looking
1,000
into
steps.
stores,
No, it's a good
he does that
exercise.
to walk.
right? It's more stressful. Then you go home and you're reminded of why you're poor. And all those things that you cannot have,
Yep.
They call
that
it
you actually don't need,
Right.
right? Because that's what I love about America. It makes you think you need shit that you don't need. And the second thing, I think I was discussing this with Tim earlier, was that they said the people who are deceived most in America are the poor people.
Yes.
If you buy this, you get 3 more. You buy this, you have 4 more.
Bogos.
They should be happy.
And they think that if they buy that new rake, that new lawnmower, and they look at the garage is full of nonsense.
And the car is outside.
Yeah, the car is outside, and they're broke. And the bank owns the house. See, that's stress. And then we wonder why we're all sick, right? You know, when I came from England, it was very interesting. Nobody in England owned a house except you could afford it. And I came to America and they said, oh, home ownership is very important. I'm like, why? You're poor. You can't afford it. In England, nobody's going to sell you a house to a poor man. It just brings you more stress. The banks now found a way to whip little Americans and make them all die early and give the house back to the bank.
It's the American way.
I know! And everybody was marching in line to hold ownership.
Oh.
Right?
You're right.
In England, nobody's buying. They're all renting on they can afford it. Because it's just less stressful. No, they deceived you here. Oh, you're going to build up equity. Bullshit equity.
No, but you do.
You just borrow more.
First of all, the housing market and the fluctuations of the stock market and house prices is not beyond the realm of normal people.
No.
It's for investors. That's why hedge funds own that. They can play with it, hold it for a long time. Yes, your own home is different, but you should only buy when you can afford it. If not, rent until you, if not, look how stressed people are. See what happened during the default. Right? People committed suicide. Look at the homeless people we have now.
Yeah.
Because they were extending themselves in owning houses that they can't afford. And what do people do in most other countries in England? They all stay in 1 or 2 rooms. Here we must have, oh, I just got a 4-bedroom house. Who's in the other 3 bedrooms? Well,
My kid.
my cat, my dog. Right?
Who's gonna clean them?
So imagine we are stressed having a big 4-bedroom house that we don't need. Do you see that? I mean, if it's all paid off, it's okay. And if you're rich, like Kim was saying, and you can go shopping in South Korea, it's okay. But if you're not, then you're just going to have these big stress problems.
Yes.
Poor diet is the crazy one, right? Because, you know, Americans, their taste has developed around what they like. You know, I come from a culture that my grandmother never asked me what you like to eat. You ate what was there.
No.
So I didn't develop this aptitude. What do I like?
Where do you want to go? What would you like to eat?
So we made food became about choice, not about nutrition. You see the point? So people tend to eat, oh, I always have the chicken. No, if you always eat chicken, you're going to get sick. You cannot always have the chicken. You should eat fish, you should eat meat, you should eat other things. Do you understand? And people thought that eating was about pleasure. No, eating is about nutrition. The body needs this fundamental, because people come here and they say, why should I take supplements? Because you eat lousy. And you don't even have enough time to eat, right? And then your genetic risks. So when we do all our diagnostics here, we can give you feedback on this stuff. All of this is really critical to the immune system. The immune system needs a healthy body for it to function optimally. Is that making sense?
Yes.
It needs a healthy body. If not, when the body is not healthy, what is the immune system doing? It's doing what America does, fighting many wars.
There's all the water.
It's fighting a war in your kidney because there's too much fat. You're getting the non-alcoholic fatty disease. Fighting in the, in the liver, the alcoholic fatty thing. In the kidney, it's fighting the destruction of the filtration. In your lungs, because of all the poisonous things you're dealing with. In your heart, because your heartbeat is not pumping well, right? In your lymphatic system, then you begin to have dexterity. In the gut-brain barrier, you start having depression and mental problems because of the imbalancing. And then you just think, perhaps I should just die. Right? People start having suicidal thoughts. They want to exit. Because life just becomes a really compelling challenge. Genetically, you need to find out what are the weaknesses in your genetic architecture. Right? I have satiety challenges. So when I'm eating, by the time I'm 100%, it takes time for my body to indicate that I'm full. It's a genetic issue. What does that mean? Do what the Japanese say. You should stop eating when you think you are still hungry. Does that make sense? That's when you should stop eating. Because normally your body will tell you when you reach for that other piece, there's something in your mind saying, am I still hungry? Then you say, I'm going to take it anyway. That's the point where you are full. And it's a challenge for some of us genetically or just for some of us because of where we are. So let's look at the imbalances that make it really very challenging for us to manage. That's why Western healthcare systems fail. Because it is almost impossible to get a hold on all of these imbalances. Because when you go to a cardiologist, he's only looking at one of these imbalances. He's looking at the whole issue of how detox, biotransformational imbalances and flow. Or they are looking at oxidation reduction imbalances and the mitochondriopathy, right? Most of them don't even look at that. Or you go to a female doctor, they're looking at hormonal and neurotransmission imbalances. Or you go to a chiropractor and they're looking at your structural imbalances. Or you go to an internist and they're looking at your digestive or your immune and inflammatory imbalances. But even so, what are the prescriptions they give you? They give drugs. Drugs are not bad things. Drugs are necessary for two reasons. One, there could be a genetic deficiency that you have. Number two, it provides you an opportunity and a gap to address urgent issues before you make the lifestyle changes we're going to talk about. So drugs are not bad. First of all, we test them upstairs. We run a clinical research site upstairs. And we test most of the medications just for 2 years. That is the only amount of knowledge we have about that drug. If you take a drug for more than 2 years, we don't know what it's going to do to your body because we test them only for 2 years, maximum. Is that making sense? And also, we did not test them in combination. So if you're taking a drug for high blood pressure, and a drug for diabetes, and a drug for arthritis, we didn't test that combination. So we don't know how it's going to work long term in your body if you're taking that. And most Americans are above 40 or 50 are on more than 4 or 5 medications at the same time. So the problem is not the medication. The problem is how long you take them and the combinations in which you're taking them. So I want to make sure that we're very clear about that. And so if you take medication, it needs to be for a short period to get you to where you make the important lifestyle changes. Are we clear about that? And what are those lifestyle changes? Let's walk through them because there are 8 of them. And every day, we call these 8 things the ingredients we use in designing your lifestyle. So each of you should be an expert in your own life around these 8 things. Number 1 are macronutrients. I'm going to ask you, what are macronutrients?
I don't know.
Let's go to the immune lady. It's Carol.
Carol, yes, it is. Macronutrients, I would have to say, are nutrients that you need, even if it's in a small amount.
Yeah, they're macro, they're big ones. They're big molecules.
Proteins.
So they're proteins,
Food, fat,
fats, and carbohydrates.
carbohydrate.
And what are micronutrients?
Smaller.
Vitamins and minerals.
Yes, but that's the important one. Why are micronutrients, why are they more important than macronutrients?
Because it's making up, maybe not.
It's the binder.
From the.
Yeah, they're binders. They facilitate a lot of intercellular. You know those things that we buy from China for our cell phones? I know most of you don't know. There are these rare earth minerals that come only from certain African and Chinese countries. And they are necessary to make the cell phone work. They are very rare earth minerals. That's what micronutrients are to our body. If you don't have them, simple things like magnesium, you have cramps and a lot of pain. Or chromium, it will affect heartbeat. Or selenium, or zinc, right? Very little amounts, but if you don't have enough, they critically affect your function, right? So, and how do we get them? I spoke about this before. You have to be very, very selective about the food that you eat. I think I have some material here on that. So I'll give this to you at the end and we'll walk through that. Let's talk about sleep. We even have a machine here that measures how well you sleep. Especially women, right? Menopausal women and sleep. You know, women thought that not sleeping enough was a good thing. Because, you know, in most villages, all the men are dead and the women are still alive. You know, in most villages, that's what happens. The men die before the women. And the thinking is that they killed all the men so they could be together. Right? And the reason why they are all alive is because they couldn't sleep well, right? But it's amazing why women live long, but they really have big challenges with sleep. It's amazing, isn't it? Carol, do you need a warm blanket? Oh,
No, I'm okay.
All right.
I'm okay, but thank you, thank
All
you.
right. Okay, so let's talk about hydration. So how much water should you drink every day, Enda?
At least 8 glasses.
At least? Do you drink 8 glasses a day, Enda?
Yes.
How do you make sure that you drink 8 glasses a day?
So again,
What is the process you go through to make sure that you drink 8 glasses a day?
okay, I make sure that I have a big pot that,
You have to empty it by when?
9
By 9.
before I go to bed.
And when do you wake up at night?
No.
Oh, you sleep?
Oh, little bit, but it's not get up to this.
You sleep throughout? Yeah. You sleep how many hours?